Hello guys, this is Carla, and this time I'm here to do a review of episode 10 of season 2 of Marvel's Agent Carter. This is the season finale for season 2, and it's, I guess, appropriately titled Hollywood Ending. I have to say though, for as much as the title promised, I found this episode kind of a letdown, I have to say. I mean, it's not that it was a bad episode per se. I laughed, I enjoyed it. You know, the 40s hijinks that they always do, I thought it was kind of sweet in its own way, but at the same time, it just didn't feel like a season finale. I mean, knowing that this is going to be the last episode of the season, you expect something big. You expect it to go out with a boom in a way. And the previous season finale was so great. I mean, you had such a huge it's such an intense fight between Peggy and Dottie, and you had so many revelations, and Peggy coming to terms with, you know, her feelings about Cap, and Howard Stark being so involved and almost destroying like all of New York. It was intense, okay, and you had a lot of moments, a lot of twist moments that kind of made you go, oh, that didn't just happen. You know, that's what you expect from a season finale. Even if you're wrapping up all the threads in a way, you still want it to surprise you. You still want it to keep you on the edge of your seat, because it's going to be the last you get of this show in a long while, in a year, really. I'd never felt that with this one. I mean, again, it's not that it was a bad episode, it's just, it could have been any other episode. If this had been episode number 3, episode number 7, I probably wouldn't be complaining about this. I probably would even give it a very positive review, because I did like the episode. It doesn't feel like a season finale. It just feels like the stakes just weren't there, you know what I mean? Like, after all the build-up they did with Whitney, it seemed remarkably easy. Things just seem remarkably easy. And I mean, nobody even died this season. Have you ever really thought about it? I mean, we thought Jason had died. Nope, he didn't. We thought Anna would die. Nope, she didn't. I mean, I guess Vernon Masters is the one who did it, and I wouldn't be surprised if he suddenly comes back, you know, because the last time somebody, you know, exploded in a zero matter explosion, both of them ended up alive, so why would Vernon Masters be dead? So the stakes, you just didn't feel them, you know what I mean? And I don't mean that someone necessarily had to die, it's just, if nobody even gets hurt, then you kind of start thinking that it's just a little too easy, you know what I mean? You have to make the hard decisions sometimes when you're a writer, and it didn't seem like they wanted to make any hard decisions in this episode. So, I mean, again, there are parts that I did like, and one thing I do love of a Marvel property is they have the best stingers, and this is no exception. That last scene of the episode was great. Even the previous scene was great. As a, you know, Peggy Sousa shipper that I am, I love that scene. But the rest of it was just kind of blah. It was so easy. And they built Whitney up so much as this really evil, you know, calculating, intelligent adversary. And she didn't have any of that in here. Okay. I will say one thing I did like. I did like that when Freddie genuinely loved Whitney and genuinely wanted just the best for her, and if that implied, you know, allying himself with Peggy and company in order to save her, then sure, he would do that, instead of, you know, bringing her down like Calvin once did. So I like that, because I'm a sap, and of course I would like that. And Ken Martin is so great, man. I love him. I really love him. And his Nonna, when Freddy's Nonna was so funny. And that's the thing. It's not that this episode wasn't fun. I laughed a lot. There were a lot of lines that made me laugh. a lot of moments that made me laugh. Laughter is not really what you expect from a season finale. Anyway, so that was one thing I liked. I didn't like how they portrayed Whitney. I mean, I understand that once she's, acquired all that zero matter, she would go even more insane. That makes sense, but that whole thing with her not coming out of the room, and writing on the walls and stuff like that, they could have made that so much creepier, okay? It just felt like, oh, she's in her room. How wonderful. I'm sorry for the English accent, I don't know where that came from, but it just seemed like really normal in a way. Like, okay, I know it's not normal for someone to not come out of the room to eat or to not sleep or not even turn on the lights, but they could have done it so much more creepily, man. They could have showed, like, more desperation out of her, like some kind of obsession that she just can't stop. And I don't think they did that. It didn't come across that way. And then they steal her things, her plans or whatever, which, by the way, how the heck did they even read all of that in a 1940s, camera that they had to, like, develop? The resolution in those things was terrible. How the heck were they able to read all that she'd written? The only way would have been that they actually took pictures of every single piece of paper, and they weren't. So yeah, that's a problem there. But they take her plans, and then they build the machine, which I have to admit, I like that they brought Howard back, because I wasn't very happy with how they had used him the last time. I much preferred Howard the scientist than I do Howard the, Playboy movie executive producer, whatever. I much prefer him when he's being a scientist, So I like that they brought him back, and I like that he delved right back into the science. That's the Howard I'd like to see, and, arguing with Peggy about how he would like to, like, keep zero matter so he can study it and then make a profit and that sort of stuff. That's very Howard Stark. So I like that. But, they steal the plans from Whitney. They build the machine. And then they're like, oh, wait. Paige's like, so how do we contact Whitney? And Wilkes is like, don't worry. She'll come. She'll feel it. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, I guess. She's been hearing voices all along, so why wouldn't she feel it? But then she just goes, knowing that she's willingly walking into a trap, because she had already seen Samberly. She clearly saw, like, the other four just standing there readying the gamma ray, and she just stands there and looks at the rift, and that's it. She just basically just lets herself be taken down. It's so strange. I mean, where's all her intelligence? It just disappeared in her obsession for the rift, and you didn't even show that obsession all that well. So I was very disappointed by that. I expected her to have some kind of backup plan, some kind of way to get rid of all of them before they could get rid of her. Like, I know she was going to go, obviously, she wants the rift, she had to go, but it felt really stupid to me, that whole thing. I don't know, I'm kind of disappointed. She wasn't as formidable as they made her seem all through the season, which is kind of silly, because they had, like, 2 extra episodes than they did last year to build her up, and then only to have her close the season this way. I didn't like it. Again, Jarvis didn't... I mean, he did help. He brought the car in and stuff, so that was interesting, that he did something, but again, I think they kind of used him a bit too much as comic relief in this one, as did Samberly. But I don't know, it felt strange. It felt like there were no stakes. It just felt like they were going on this random mission that wasn't supposed to end the world. The science of the rift itself, while I know this is sci-fi and I shouldn't necessarily expected to match reality or anything. It didn't feel congruent to the show itself, because if you think back to the original rift, the one that we saw in the video, that thing dragged tanks from like really far away into it. And then next time we see the rift open, Whitney and Wilkes are standing right by it, almost like right below it, and they don't get sucked in. Only Wilkes does, but not Whitney or their car. And then this time around, they address the issue. It's like, oh, if you stand like behind this line, then you won't get sucked in. But that line was like tiny. That circumference was like tiny. And I know that it didn't have the power of an atom bomb behind it, so it makes sense that it would be less, but not that small. I mean, come on. And then, while I loved the fact that Sousa went in to, like, pull the lever, while everybody else was arguing about whether they should sacrifice themselves, I liked that Sousa did it, but I saw that coming a mile away. You know what I mean? It's like, as soon as they started arguing, I'm like, Sousa's gonna be the one to pull it. Not that I didn't like it. It made me actually let out a screech because I don't want anything to happen to Sousa. And up until this point, I was still hoping that somebody would die just to up the stakes. So I thought, damn, if they kill Sousa now, I'm going to scream. But I knew it would be him. Same as, Jarvis just goes, I'll be back in a jiffy. And then he leaves. And I'm like, and they're like pulling at Sousa to keep him back. And I'm like, okay, when is Jarvis coming back to save the day? We all knew that was going to happen. So it was all very predictable. And I don't know. I find it a letdown. I honestly do. It's not that I wasn't bad. Like I said, if this had been in any other place in the season, I wouldn't mind it at all. Because I really did like it. It made me smile. It felt very 40s. But just, not for a season finale. And as far as the finale goes, like the last few scenes, like I mentioned before, I love that Peggy and Sousa are finally a thing. I hope they're finally a thing and they're not going to like take it back in the first episode of the next season and be like, whoops, no, we kissed, but that never happened. Please don't do that. Like nothing happened after that. Please don't do that. But I'm glad that that they finally got it. I would have liked the scene to be a little bit more, like the kiss itself to be a little bit softer in a way, but I guess I can't blame Peggy. She just wanted to shut him up. I can understand. And I'm really excited. Like I screamed and my mother came into my room and she was like, what happened? I'm like, no, they're kissing, and she just rolled her eyes and left. But like, I just really love, and the thing that I don't like though is that they just basically shuffled Wilkes out for no reason at all. You know what I mean? It's like, I was expecting him to die the entire season. I thought he would die, and if that were the case, I'd be like, okay, Peggy can get together with Sousa now, that's fine. But then he just leaves, Howard sends him to Peru, and he goes, and he doesn't care, I kind of get it, because he and Peggy haven't known each other for long, so it's not like they actually had a relationship, but still, like, with everything Peggy did for him, and with all the speeches he made to Sousa about feeling the same way and whatnot, it just felt like an excuse to get him out of the way. I didn't like that. But I am glad that Peggy and Sousa got together. And I do hope that they get a renewal. I guess we won't really know until like May, because that's how ABC does things. Like they wait until the upfronts in May to announce renewals and whatever. But I do hope they get a renewal, because I'm quite curious about this whole arena club thing and the pin, it being a key. That was interesting. Like, what is that? What does that have to do with it? Is it Hydra? I really want something to be Hydra in this show, okay? Because that's the one thing that I'm missing. There's no Hydra, and it feels weird. And maybe, you know, they can take it a little bit further and have Peggy, like, subtly starting to turn the SSR into S.H.I.E.L.D. That would be interesting. But it's just, and of course, they would have to solve who shot Thompson. I don't know that he's dead, so I won't actually say that he's dead. Would I like him to be dead? Sure, because then I can say, hey, somebody actually died this season. But, and I already thought he was going to die anyway, so, you know, I wasn't entirely shocked by it. But knowing this show, he could, for all intents and purposes, still be alive, and it would be fine. But they would have to figure out who shot him, and now that Peggy is apparently staying in LA, I guess, because that was the whole deal with Jarvis actually asking her to stay and asking her to find a reason to stay, and then her kissing Sousa. I would assume that she's staying, I guess. And it would be good for them to make that like the central arc of next season, to just figure out who shot Thompson and why, and what does the Arena Club have to do with any of it. So I do hope that they get another season. I love Agent Carter. I think it's a great show. Not every episode hits the mark, but I really love it. Like, I think, and this is going to sound blasphemous for many, but I think I might actually like Agent Carter more than I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just because of the I don't know, just the whole 40s thing is so cute to me and so fun. Like, it's inherently fun. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. can get really dramatic. And while Agent Carter also has its drama, it's just fun to watch. So I would like to see them get a renewal. I know that Haley Atwell is apparently in talks to start in a different ABC show, like not Marvel at all. So it will be interesting to see what happens with that. As I understand, it wouldn't mean that she wouldn't be Peggy Carter again, so she could do both because of the period of the year when the shows air. So she could technically do both. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that, and I really do want the show to get a new season, especially if they have to deal with the fact that now, you know, Peggy would be in a relationship with Sousa, and Sousa's kind of still her boss, and how that works out would be interesting. But yeah, as an episode, like as an individual episode, it was okay, but as a season finale, it wasn't the greatest. So I would rather like think back to the previous 2 episodes as like the climax of the thing, and try to not think too much about this one. But I really did enjoy this season. It was good to have a second season for Agent Carter, and I really do hope they renew it, because I love this show. I love these characters, and they left me hanging with the pin thing and the shooting thing, so now I really want to know what happened, and I really hope that they renew this thing. So are you listening to me, ABC? Renew Agent Carter. Renew Agent Carter. For serious, you have to renew it. But yeah, that's about it for me today. I've been talking for 19 minutes. Wow. That's it for me today. As usual, be sure to visit our website at thegeekypub.com. We not only have reviews for the previous Agent Carter episodes, but also for other TV shows, books, movies, games. We have a ton of stuff in there, so be sure to visit and check it out. And also, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that's usually where our reviews go up first. Most of the time, they go up on YouTube before they even hit the website. So if you don't want to miss anything, then be sure to subscribe to our channel. And that's it from me today. I will see you guys in my next review. Bye.